Hello everyone, myself Michael Ravina, Associate Professor, Department of Computer Science and Engineering. The subject is data CS3492 Database Management System. The unit is transactions. The topic is concurrency control. Concurrency control is a process of managing simultaneous execution of transaction in a shared database. To ensure the serializability of transaction is known as concurrency control. Process of managing simultaneous operations on the database without having them interfere with one another. Prevents interference when two or more users accessing database simultaneously and at least one is updating data. Although two transactions may be correct in themselves, interleaving of operations may produce the incorrect result. Need for concurrent execution in DBMS. In a multi-user system, multiple users can access and use the same database at one time, which is known as concurrent execution of the database. It means that the same database is executed simultaneously on a multi-user system by different users. While working on the database transactions, there occurs the requirement of using database by multiple users of performing different operations. And in that case, concurrent execution of the database is performed. The thing is that the simultaneous execution that is performed should be done in an interleaved manner, and no operation should affect the other executing operations, thus maintaining the consistency of the database. Thus, on making the concurrent execution of the transaction operations, there occur several challenging problems that need to be solved. Problems with the concurrent execution. Simultaneous execution of transactions over a shared database can create several data integrity and consistency problems. First one is a lost updated problem, then second one is a temporary updated problem, then third one is a incorrect summary problem. First problem is lost update problem. The problem occurs when two different transactions perform the read and write operations on the same database item in an interleaved manner, that is concurrent execution, that makes the values of the item incorrect, hence making the database inconsistent. For example, consider the below diagram where two transactions Tx and Ty are performed on the same account A, where the balance of account A is rupees 300. At the time T1, transaction Tx reads the value of account A, that is the amount 300. Only read. At the time of transaction T2, the transaction Tx detects the reduce the value 50 from the account A, that becomes 250. Next, alternatively, at the time of T3 transaction, the transaction Ty reads the value of the account A, that will be 300 only because Tx did not update the value yet. At the time T4, the transaction Ty adds 100 to the account A, that becomes 400. At the time of T6, the transaction Tx write the value of account A, that will be updated as 250 only, as Ty did not update the value yet. Similarly, at the time of T7, the transaction Ty writes the value of account A, so it will be write done. At the time of T4, that will be amount is 400. It means the value written by Tx is not lost. Tx is lost, that is 250 is lost. Hence the data becomes incorrect and database sets to inconsistent state. Next problem is the temporary updated problem. This problem occurs when one transaction updates a database item and then the another transaction fails for some reason. Then the updated item is accessed by another transaction before it is changed back to its original value. Occurs when one transaction can see intermediate result of another transaction before it has committed. This is an example for temporary updated. In this, at the time of T1, transaction Tx reads the value of data, value of account A, that is the value is 300. At the time of T2, the transaction Tx adds some 50 amount to the account A, that becomes 350. At the time of 3T, the transaction Tx write the updated value, that becomes 350. At the time of T4, the transaction Ty reads the account A, that will be 350. At the time of T5, the transaction Tx rollbacks due to the server problem and the value changes back to 300 initially, but the value for A remains 350 for transaction Ty as committed, which is the dirty read and therefore known as dirty read problem. That is, the temporary updated problem is otherwise known as dirty read problem. Next one is the incorrect summary problem. The incorrect summary problem, if one transaction is calculating an aggregate amount summary function on number of records while other transactions are updating some of these records, the aggregate function may calculate some values before they are updated and others after they are updated. One occurs when transaction reads several values but second transaction updates some of them during the execution of first. This is an example for incorrect summary problem. In this problem, that is in this example, Tx, the transaction Tx is totaling balances to account X of, that is 100, account Y is 50 and account Z is 25. Meantime, T5 is transferred 10 from balance of X to balance of Z. So T6 now has a wrong result. So problem avoided by preventing the T6 from the reading of balance X and balance Z until after T5 completed the updates.